Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for signing on for our very first info sessions. Today's info session is going to focus on Workday's general functionality as well as the FDM structure. We are so excited that you've all signed in to learn more about Workday. Our team is really looking forward to working with all of you. So let's get started. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to focus on what these info sessions are, what you can expect when you're attending these info sessions, both in person and in the webinar. Then we'll dive into the enterprise transformation overview, as well as more specifics on the financials transformation. Then we'll finally be able to give you a brief overview of the Workday functionality, which we know a lot of people are really looking forward to seeing, getting to finally peek behind that Workday curtain. And then we'll close out the session with information on the FDM, its benefits, its overview and structure, and then the mapping. Lastly, we will close out with the Q&A. You'll be able to enter your questions into the chat bar that you see along the bottom of the screen. We have people moderating our chat, so should you have any issues, questions, feel free to utilize that chat function. As a safe harbor, we want to make sure that we are giving you the most up-to-date information, and the information that we receive is constantly changing. We're getting lots of updates, both in terms of the Workday functionality as well as the Georgia Tech requirements. So as we find out more information, we're of course adapting and we're rolling with the punches. And so with that being said, the information that we're presenting today is accurate based on the information that we have. If we find out and uncover different information, then of course it could be subject to change. So a little bit about myself, and then we'll dive into the info sessions. My name is Michelle Thackeray, and I am the lead for organizational readiness or change management. My team is really in charge of making sure that the campus outreach occurs, and that's why you're starting to see and hear more from my team. We're so excited to start to show you guys what Workday is capable of and give you more information that we know you've been yearning to hear more about. So what are these campus info sessions? Our campus info sessions are open to all of Georgia Tech users. These are really meant to highlight specific topic areas, and that will occur over the entire course of implementation. So if you take a look at our timeline, you'll see that right now in the August and September timeline, we're focusing on the Workday general functionality as well as the FDM. As we move through implementation, we'll start to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into areas like expenses, grants, procurement, and reporting. For each series, we're hosting about 3 to 4 sessions. 3 of those sessions will be held around campus in different locations, and then the final session will be held as a webinar. All webinars will be recorded and then later posted to the website, so you'll always be able to refer back to this information. So should you onboard any new members, or should you want to just refer back to what was shared with you, you'll be able to easily access that through our transformation website. So now that we've talked a little bit about what campus info sessions are, I want to talk a little bit about what they're not. So these aren't really meant to be training. Again, they're really meant to give you an overview of what you can expect to see in Workday with respect to various process areas. And of course, as I mentioned before, today's session is going to cover some of that introductory work into what Workday looks like and feels like, but future sessions will in fact demonstrate the various business processes that we know that campus is a heavy user of, such as expenses and procurement. So make sure that you're staying tuned for the release of those dates so that you can register for those both in person or as a webinar. The last thing that I want to focus on is training. My team is also responsible for the development and delivery of training along with several other campus partners. We're really trying to take a mixed approach to training so that we're meeting all of the learners where they are. So that means we're taking this multi-tiered approach where we have structured learning, social learning, and experiential learning. So what this means is that We're trying to ensure that we're covering our bases. So structured learning is probably what you're most familiar with. Those would be things like web-based training and instructor-led training. Social learning is something that our team is really excited about. We're planning to have a guru network where we'll have subject matter experts across campus who you'll be able to rely on and call should you experience any difficulties in using the new system, or should you just want some additional guidance. We're also going to host open lab sessions where you can come in person to interact with those subject matter experts. And then lastly, we're also planning to do the Workday Challenge. This will be a chance for colleagues to compete against one another, and we'll have a leaderboard and some prizes and make sure that everyone's getting into the system and engaging in the new ways of working. The last piece is the experiential learning, and this is really the opportunity for people to take ownership of their own learning experience. So this would include the use of quick reference guides, job aids, videos, and workshops. Again, we're really excited, and I hope that this gives you a little bit more insight into what you can expect from the organizational readiness team. I'm now going to hand things over to Sandy Bramblett, who's going to talk a little bit more about the enterprise overview as well as financials transformation specifically.
Thanks, Michelle. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us this afternoon. I am representing today Institutional Research and Enterprise Data Management, as well as the Executive Steering Committee. When we say that this is an enterprise transformation, we are including everything around financials and human capital management. And then there's this thing called Light. And I want you to be really familiar with Light, because Light is going to be your portal into financials and human capital management. As we talk through this, you're welcome to go and visit Light after today's presentation. It's at lite.gatech.edu. And this portal is brought to you by the team in Enterprise Data Management. What you'll see out there right now are some student data portals that will show you things like enrollment and degrees granted. And it will also kind of give you a lens into what we're planning to do around financials as well as human capital management. So when we say we are transforming the enterprise, we really mean it, and we're really, really excited about that. This next slide will give you an idea of the timeline. Right now, we are in configure and prototype for financials, and this is the Workday system that we are implementing on campus. So in configure and prototype, we are kind of working alongside with HCM and planning that implementation out. And at the same time, you see at the very bottom there, Light reporting has begun. Again, the student data reporting is live, and you can go and take a look at that and see what that looks like now. Financials reporting is working alongside of that, and then HR reporting comes next. Now, I want you to remember a couple of dates here. Okay, July 1 of 2019 is when we will go live with Workday Financials. So a year from now, our entire financial system will be transformed into this new Workday environment. So I want to make sure that you understand July 1st, 2019 is when we go live there. And then on January 1st, 2020, USG One Connect will now be our HCM system. So we are working lockstep with the university system as we move forward with that particular implementation. And just so you have an understanding, those are the dates that you need to be aware of. And again, Light, the portal that will allow the data to be seen, that is kind of working alongside each one of those transformations with financials and HCM. So let's give you a background about the financials transformation and what this means. There is a wonderful series of what we call biteables, which are videos, little short videos that kind of give you some background about the project and the initiative around the transformation. So we're going to start by showing you this one very quick biteable. So just imagine transforming your workday and being able to control what you do from a financial standpoint from your smartphone. That's really kind of the enterprise transformation that we're talking about with regard to financials. I kind of want to give some functionality highlights for you about Workday in case you haven't heard about this yet. And I would also invite you, if you haven't visited the website yet, for transformation.gatech.edu, there is a wealth of information there for you that will keep you up to date on what's going on and where we're at with the transformation. There are several bitables out there. We're going to introduce you to a couple of those today, but also too, it's just a great way to stay informed about what's going on with the transformation. So about Workday and the software functionality. We want to understand it's configurable. We're not able to customize, but we are able to configure so the customers have the same experience. So what you see on your screen is going to be the same thing that your PI might see on his screen, or the same thing that your school chair might see on her screen. So these are the kind of things that make Workday so great from a transformation standpoint. Updates are going to occur every year, so it's going to allow us to remain competitive with the latest technologies as far as Workday is concerned. We'll be able to plan for that, so we'll know that every 6 months that those updates are going to occur. What's really cool about Workday too is that there is a community of users out there who inform how updates will happen. So you'll have a voice in how we come together and add functionality. It really helps us plan a roadmap for the updates, and also will enable us to make that Workday for you configurable to what you need as a customer. Finally, from what I understand, the interface is highly intuitive and the system is very user-friendly. And from the really kind of neat thing, there's a tagline about this that says, if you can Google, you can Workday. So we're making it into a verb for you as well. So kind of going on to the goals of this whole transformation, and it's not just about the financial side, it's also about the human capital management side as well. The goals for this, we want to foster collaboration and transparency, particularly as it relates to accountability and compliance. Workday will enable us to do that. There are a lot of processes that we go through right now in our financial day, as well as dealing with our personnel. So we want to streamline and standardize those processes wherever we can. And our hope is that Workday will allow us to do that, as well as the implementation of the new HCM system. We're going to improve reporting. So, you need to have that experience about, the data that you need, when you need it, in a format that makes sense for you. So our hope is that as we improve reporting, you'll get a better lens inside the system. We want to reduce redundancies and inefficiencies. We want to make sure that the transactions that you are doing, you only have to do them one time to ensure that they are in the system and doing what you need for them to do. And we want to enhance accessibility. Everybody should be able to access what they need to do their jobs, and our hope is that Workday will bring this to you, this type of accessibility. So there is a lot going on here, but it's all very exciting, and it's all going to enable Georgia Tech to really create the next as it relates to our systems. The scope of Workday is all-encompassing, as you might imagine, as it relates to finance. And what you see here in front of you is the scope. And this is kind of a different terminology. There's a crosswalk that comes on along with this, where you can kind of walk between business assets in Workday is what we refer to as asset management in PeopleSoft. Banking and settlement, that's treasury services. In Workday, we talk about customer accounts. We know that as accounts receivable in PeopleSoft. Expenses, that's travel and expense. Supplier accounts, that's vendor management and accounts payable. Grants management, we refer to that as the award lifecycle and Deltec in our PeopleSoft environment. So this is kind of the crosswalk that you'll understand with the Workday scope as we move forward with the Workday implementation. Finally, I'm really excited because I get to talk a little bit about the highlights with Workday. Paper check requests, all will be done in Workday. Everything that Workday can do for you will be empowered through this system. So, service requisitions, I understand this is quite a big pain point with our users. They only are going to require one entry, and it's not going to require flipping. The requisitions that you initiate, they will start and they will end in Workday. You won't be jumping from system to system to do requisitions. So again, these are some of the highlights that will make things very easy or much easier for you in Workday, and perhaps even increase productivity as you try to cycle through some of your everyday tasks. So I think what you probably came here today to find out more about is what Nate Watkins is going to share with you. And this is going to be a peek under the hood of Workday. So I'm going to turn it over to Nate.
Thank you, Sandy. And good afternoon. My name is Nate Watkins. I joined the project team in January after about 5 years in mechanical engineering. My role is to represent the academic and research units at Georgia Tech across this project. I'm excited to be here to show you some of the capabilities of Workday and how it will make doing business at Georgia Tech easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit the presentation and go into our Workday tenant to show you how Workday will run. So here we are in the Workday tenant. You will have a very similar look and feel when you log in. Once you log in, you'll start off on your landing page, which is your launch pad for working in Workday. I'll cover all the various items that you see here in turn, but first I'd like to highlight the navigation bar. The top of what's on the landing page is where a significant portion of the navigation takes place. This navigation bar goes with you no matter where you are in Workday. Here is where you'll be able to access the search bar, as well as your notifications, your inbox, and your profile. So first, you can always get back to your landing page by clicking the Georgia Tech logo in the upper left corner, or through the profile icon in the upper right. Next to the home button is the search bar, which I'll cover in more depth later. To the right of the search bar are your notifications and inbox. These are both systematic ways to deliver messages in Workday. Notifications are messages that are purely informational and do not require an action to be taken. These might be reminders, alerts, messages, or other items. The inbox is where tasks are sent to you that you need to take action on. I'll also discuss the inbox in more depth later. And finally, you can access your profile here in the top right. In the center of your landing page, we have these buttons called worklets. Worklets allow you to quickly navigate to your commonly used tasks and reports, and they can be customized based on your role. I'll be talking about what these look like and how you can set these up to best suit your work in a little bit. The first of these items that I just covered, I'd like to show you, is the inbox. You can access your inbox from one of two places. First, the left section of your landing page will show you the first few messages of your inbox, and you can access the rest of your inbox there. Second, you can access your inbox in the navigation bar using this icon. Remember, this goes with you no matter where you are in Workday, and I'll go ahead and use this to access my inbox. The inbox is where you'll take actions on any tasks or to-dos. Unlike today's workflow, all financial transactions that require review or approval will come here to one centralized location. The left-hand side of the inbox displays a list of all the transactions that you need to complete. You'll see here that George has a few expense reports, requisitions, and spend authorizations, or what we now know as travel authorities, that he needs to review. If you have a lot of items in your inbox, you also have the ability to filter and sort to help you manage your work. Here, I have filters set up for expense reports, requisitions, and spend authorizations to more easily organize my work. So now I'm going to select one of these items. This is a spend authorization submitted by Ramona, his subordinate, for George's approval. Just like today's travel authorizations, it indicates the expected spend for travel and their costs. Assuming everything looks okay, George can hit the approved button directly from his inbox. One last feature I'd like to highlight is that you can review the entire process history and the remaining process. After I've completed my review and approval, I can come down here to the bottom to review details about the action I've just taken. There's a second tab called Process that shows the next step. If at any point you're curious where your transaction is in the queue, you can navigate to your transaction. You'll see throughout the rest of this demo that there are many different ways to find whatever it is you're looking for, and you can review the business process history there. Sometimes a task has something wrong with it. When that's the case, error and alert messages display in red and orange boxes. You can click on them to see an explanation of the error. They typically identify a specific field where information is missing, entered incorrectly, or in conflict with the Georgia Tech rule. Errors prevent you from completing a task until the error is fixed. In this example, we have an error telling me that I need to update one of the required fields on this transaction. The required field, or work tag, is necessary for reporting and transaction routing. Work tags are keywords that will support this routing and transaction, and in this case, I'll need to update the error to proceed. I'm not going to do that here. I also have a requisition with an alert. This one is telling me that there's something wrong with my grant. I may need to review this before I proceed. However, it's not stopping me from processing this transaction. I can go ahead and approve it if I want to. Error and alert messages support our data integrity by ensuring required fields are filled and potential problems are addressed or acknowledged. They're not, however, intended to stop business. Now, I'll return to the landing page to talk about worklets. As I mentioned earlier, I can get back to the landing page by clicking on the Georgia Tech logo or through my profile. I alluded to this earlier, but one great thing about Workday is there are many ways to get to what you're looking for, and you can adapt your experience to how you like to organize your work. This time, I'm going to return from George's profile. So I'm going to navigate to the expenses worklet, which is what we know today as T&E. This is one way you can access expense reports. When you select a worklet, you may see a page layout similar to this. This is a common layout for worklets. On the left, we have actions. Buttons under the Actions section link to tasks that you can perform, such as creating and editing expense reports. On the right, we have View. Those under the View section link to reports for your worklet. In this particular worklet, there is also this Recent box that gives you a quick link to those expense reports you recently submitted. Back on the landing page, you can add, remove, or move some worklets to help you better navigate what you need to work on. Some worklets are required by Workday or based on your role at Georgia Tech. For example, everyone has access to favorites and reports. However, if I didn't have access to requisitions, I would not have those related worklets. Based on your access, you can customize your worklets. From this page, click the settings icon in the upper right corner to access your Configure Worklets page. Some worklets are automatically assigned to you based on your access, and some worklets can be picked from another list of optional worklets. Use the plus/minus buttons to add or remove optional worklets and the arrows to change their order. Once you made updates, click OK and Done, and it'll return you to the landing page where you'll immediately see any updates that you just made. The search bar is also a quick way to find tasks, objects, and reports anywhere in Workday, and it's probably my favorite. Workday delivers a powerful search engine that enables you to dynamically search for unique data such as identifiers, transactions, and objects like grants or cost centers, or what we now know as departments, as well as reports and tasks. Note that everything in Workday is word-driven, which makes the search that much more powerful and useful. Workday Search delivers exact search result matches, such as specific invoices or expense reports, which does mean you need to spell correctly. Luckily, Workday Search has some built-in shortcuts. It will initially find the 7 best matched results after you start typing. So if I want to create an expense report, I could try to type create expense report, and as I type, the results are automatically filtered for me, and I can get what I want before I finish typing expense. This applies for any word you're typing, so I could also type CRE EXP to pull up the Create Expense Report task in the quick search bar. You can click on any of these results right here. I'd also like to show what happens when you go into your search results. So I'll just type expense and hit enter. You're taken to this search page that delivers all results. In many cases, these are irrelevant to what I'm doing, so there are filters here on the left, and I can click expenses to filter only results that are related to expense reports. You can use these search categories to filter your search for more accurate results, and you can even save categories that you use frequently as favorites. And finally, as the last task in Workday, I'd like to show you the Related Actions button, which can be used to quickly get to different tasks and reports related to what you're trying to do. This is another common way of navigating and can be found all over Workday. To demonstrate, I'm going to go back to my Expenses Worklet and find one of my recent expense reports. Related Actions display next to an object when it can be used to access other relevant actions. It can be in one of two formats. One may say actions, like the one I'm pointing to now. Others are buttons with ellipses that are affectionately known as the Twinkie, because they're orange with white dots, which you can see here. You can select the related, so I'm going to select the related actions for my expense report. When I click on related actions, a new menu pops up. This shows some information and specific actions that I can take on this object. As you can see, I can copy, add an attachment, print this expense report, as well as view other reports and other related actions. The exact choices you will see vary depending on what kind of object it is and what you have access to. Some other common related actions include creating requisitions, running reports, viewing audit trails of completed processes. Again, in Workday, there are multiple ways to get to any tasks, reports, or data you're looking for. Most of the actions available through related actions are also available through worklets or through the search bar. And that's it for our Workday Basics demo, and we hope this gives you a good feel for how we'll do work in Workday. We'll be showing you more demonstrations in our upcoming sessions that focus on specific business processes in Workday, like creating expense reports and requisitions. So we hope you'll join us for those in the coming months. Now, I'm going to go back into the presentation. And next, I'd like to welcome Veronica Stokes from the project team. She will present to you the foundation data model, which will replace our current chart of accounts.
Thank you, Nate. Before we get started, we're going to start with the Bible. That's going to show us a little about the foundation data model. Our objective for this session is to answer some of the questions that we've been asked about the FDM over the last few months. Questions like, will our chart of accounts change and why? What is the FDM and what are work tags? What are some of the benefits of this new FDM? When will we see the new structure? And will there be mapping from the old values to the new? Let's start by defining and reviewing our current chart of accounts. The chart of accounts is a list of identifiers used to classify goods and services purchased. Each identifier helps to clarify a particular aspect of a transaction and plays a unique role in meeting the Institute's reporting and audit requirements. The current chart of accounts consists of 7 chart fields that you see listed. Some combination of these chart fields are needed to record transactions. To answer why our chart of accounts is changing, we need to talk a little history. In 2000, Georgia Tech implemented PeopleSoft and rolled out the chart of accounts we are currently using. The next year, the University System of Georgia published their chart of account structure. Because of this timing difference, the two were not aligned. This has caused reporting challenges over the years. Because of these challenges, Georgia Tech built a process to map our current chart of accounts to the USG structure. We run this process at the end of each month before extracting financial data to load to the USG. The mandate issued in 2017 stated that each university within the university system must align their chart of accounts to the USG structure. This mandate has provided us with the opportunity to eliminate most, if not all, of our USG reporting challenges. We're doing this by designing an FDM that aligns with the USG structure. Over the past 10 months, we have designed a new accounting structure to take the place of our current chart of accounts. Workday calls this structure the foundation data model. So what is the foundation data model? The foundation data model is a framework that supports financial and managerial reporting. The FDM has an impact on all areas within Workday Financials. It is a multi-dimensional structure that utilizes work tags to create auditing and reporting flexibility that we've been missing. Some of the benefits of our new FDM is that it will provide a more complete and accurate picture of our financial position, which gives us the ability to instantly calculate financial results and make adjustments as needed. The FDM will give us the ability to run reports by a single work tag while excluding any work tags that are not relevant to the analysis. We will create custom rules to improve data integrity and reduce input errors. User interaction will be easy and consistent. This can only improve overall job productivity. So now it's time for the introduction to FDM 101. These are some points that you may want to keep in mind. All FDM dimensions are work tags. Work tags identify financial transactions and categorize them for reporting. And lastly, work tags create the FDM multi-dimensional structure that I told you about. Work tags can be drivers. When a driver work tag is entered, related work tags follow along for the ride. Related work tags are associated with driver work tags and auto-populate on transactions. Some of the related work tags that we are creating will align to the USG Chart of Account structure, ensuring compliance with the USG mandate that I mentioned earlier. Operational work tags will vary depending on the transaction. For example, when an expense report for travel reimbursement is created, an expense item is needed. When office supplies are purchased, a spend category is used. If further classification of a transaction is needed, optional work tags can be used. We have talked about the types of work tags we will use in Workday. Let's take a look at the group of work tags that make up each type. There are 5 driver work tags: agency, designated, gift, grant, and project. Related work tags associated with these drivers are class, cost center, function, fund, and program. Operational work tags consist of expense items, revenue categories, and spend categories. And lastly, location and NIGP codes are optional on transactions. So how do these work tags come together? Without a driver work tag, users will need to know which combination of work tags to enter to complete a transaction. This can make things very confusing because there are over 90,000 combinations. Using driver work tags will remove the confusion by auto-populating the related work tags. This feature will simplify the data entry process. So let's walk through the process of creating a transaction. If you need to order supplies for your office, a driver work tag is entered. In this case, it is designated. And like magic, the related work tags will appear on your transaction. We will enter a spend category for supplies and material, and that will complete your transaction. So let's try this again. This time we're going to use agency as the driver. We're going to record revenue, but first our related work tags appear. We're going to record revenue, so we will use a revenue category. One last time, grant is the driver. Our related work tags appear. And this time we're going to create a travel transaction. So we are selecting an expense item for rental car. As you can see, this is very similar to the way we currently create transactions. We have tried to make the transition as painless as possible. My last topic this afternoon is the FDM mapping. The mapping of our old chart of accounts values to the new FDM value will be a huge task. This task is so great that we've asked the controller that retired about 10 years ago to come back and help us with this task. Over 70,000 unique project IDs are currently active in PeopleSoft Financials. As a part of the Workday financial deployment, each project ID needs to be mapped to their corresponding FDM dimension. The success of this mapping activity will depend on the campus community. We have asked representatives from each business unit across campus to assist with this task. These individuals need to have a deep knowledge of the unit's reporting requirements, business policies, and how the unit is using Project ID within financials. The mapping exercise will include meeting with the unit reps to discuss the approach, expectation, and timeline. In these meetings, we will talk about the mapping tool that we're using. In fact, we started these mapping sessions about 3 weeks ago. The unit reps will assist the FDM team in the review of their project IDs and help complete the mapping templates. In conjunction, we're asking the reps to conduct data cleanup. The cleanup will include inactivating any projects that are no longer being used and correcting descriptions as needed. Our current chart of accounts has a few limitations. One is the way we currently use the project ID chart field. This chart field is used to capture and track everything from gift and grants to capital projects and agency funds. The Workday FDM gives us the flexibility to find a work tag home for each of these within the FDM structure. The mapping activity would not be complete without the crosswalk of business unit, account, fund, class, and program. The ERP's FDM team, along with staff from the controller's office, will handle the mapping of these chart fields. Before we end this session, let's take a brief look at a sample mapping activity. In pink, you will see the PeopleSoft chart field values, and in blue, Workday work tag values. Currently, we use business unit, which is GT. In Workday, it will crosswalk to company. What we're currently calling a department ID will crosswalk to cost center and have a prefix of CC. Project ID / speed type will crosswalk to GIF in this example because it is funded by Georgia Tech Foundation. Fund, crosswalk to fund with a prefix of FD. Class to class, prefix CL, and program that you're currently used to will become function. If you are still a little confused, you should not be concerned. This was not a training session, just an overview of some of the changes you will see in Workday. You will not travel this journey alone. The ERP team will be with you. We are scheduling training classes, workshops, as well as creating job aids to give you more detailed information about the FDM as well as other business processes within Workday. A crosswalk tool is being developed so that you can look up work tag values by using the old PeopleSoft value. By the time we cut over to our new financial system in the summer of 2019, you will be armed with the tools and the knowledge you need to do your job and to transform your workday. And now I will turn things back over to Michelle.
Thanks, Veronica. Well, again, we all want to thank you so much for logging in and listening to our very first info session about Workday's general functionality as well as the FDM structure. I want to review a couple objectives with you. This was really what our team was focused on delivering today. And at the end of this session, either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, you will be receiving a survey. That survey will ask for your feedback on how we did. We ask that you please be honest in your responses as we want to make sure that we're improving these info sessions as we continue to deliver them over the course of implementation. Now we're going to go ahead and move into the Q&A portion of our discussion. The Q&A panelists are shown here. You have myself, the Organizational Readiness Lead, as well as Nate Watkins and Veronica, who you heard earlier. In addition to Nate and Veronica and myself, we've also have Dan Hopkinson, who is the Reporting Lead on the project, as well as Jeff Beecham, who is the Process Track Lead. You may use the chat feature along the bottom portion of your screen in order to ask any questions that you have. It does appear that some questions are beginning to come in, so I'm going to ask the panel to join me as we dive into some of those questions. So we've been asked if we're going to send out the PowerPoint information. The PowerPoint will be sent out in addition to that survey link that I mentioned earlier. And you also heard Sandy Bramblett mention the crosswalk. That is a PDF document that will also be sent in addition to the PowerPoint. Additionally, we have a question that's asked, what is happening with Concur? I'm going to turn that over to Jeff Beecham to answer what is happening with Concur.
In regards to Concur, we will still use that as a travel booking tool, but the actual expense reports and the receipts will all be done in the Workday expenses application.
And in addition, we will stop using Concur for P-Card, and that will take place entirely within Workday.
How soon will training begin? Training will begin in the spring of 2019. There will be opportunities to engage in that via our website, where people will be able to register for instructor-led training or access some of our on-demand training with web-based trainings as well as job aids. Another question, what is happening with BuzzMart?
From a BuzzMart perspective, most of that functionality will move to Workday. There will remain some key pieces of BuzzMart, otherwise known as Jagger, that will live on. Primarily the punch-out functionality, supplier contracts, and the ability to accept the XML invoice formats.
The next question is, how will we pull financial data from years in the past where the transactions were originally done in PeopleSoft? I'm going to turn that over to Dan Hopkinson.
As we move into Workday, we are going to load some portion of history. It's yet undetermined. It'll be years worth into the enterprise data warehouse, and that information will be made available through the Light platform, either through a Tableau report or a Cognos report. So you'll be able to see your historical data there, and there will be some balances. I believe there'll be kind of zero balances or maybe year one balances done in Workday at Go Live as well.
Thanks, Dan. Is there a link to Workday from TechWorks?
Yes, there will be a link to Workday from TechWorks, but you'll also have a bookmarkable link, so you don't have to access it through TechWorks.
Will the new system overlap with the previous system? And will there be rolling transition, or will everyone transition at the same time?
Hello, this is Jeff. From a overlap perspective, there will be some overlap to close out year-end in PeopleSoft, but that overlap would typically be confined to individuals in the controller's office. But yes, there is an expectation that in early July 2019, the remainder of the campus would cut over to Workday.
Will the Q&A be available? Yes, the Q&A is being recorded in addition to everything that you've heard here today, and that will be posted to the Transformation website. The Transformation website also hosts a list of FAQs, and those FAQs are being updated regularly. I think that covers the questions for today's session. I want to thank everyone for attending. We hope that you've gotten to hear a little bit more about the transformation and that you're as excited about the implementation of Workday as our team is. If you would like to stay in touch with our team, you can always reach out via email. Our help desk email is erp.ask@gautech.edu. We also have the Transformation website, which is transformation.gautech.edu. Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoyed yourself. Take care.